Hey, what's going on, everybody? David Noe with SpeakEasy HR, presented by Payroll Partners. We are back with a brand new episode, brand new guest, and I cannot wait to dive into this great topic about leadership today. We've been talking about the AI and all going on in the technology right now in the world of business over the last couple of episodes, and now we are back with a new topic and something that I love to talk a lot about is leadership. So I have the privilege to have Willie Wibert on. Willie, welcome, and how are you? Oh, you got to hit the unmute button.
Rookie mistake.
It's all right.
But thanks
Welcome.
for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we were talking before we came on live, and so we were connected through a mutual friend, writing books, and we started talking about that, and then we said, "Hey, you should come on and talk about leadership." And so we're gonna get into this topic with you. So, how was your Mother's Day? How was your weekend?
It was good. My children are all grown, and so it was nice to have them all in one room with the grandkids, and so it was really nice.
Absolutely. And you're down in Texas, right?
I'm in Texas, so the weather's good right now.
Yeah, definitely. So for those listening to this who are not familiar with your work, your background, if you want to just kind of share a little bit about your journey and kind of what you wanted to do when you were younger and if that aligns with what you're doing now.
I guess sort of. Honestly, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to have my own family, and I wasn't all that sure I was prepared for that. So I went to school and I got graduate degrees in family studies and family ecology. And from there, I thought I was going to be in academia, but I thought this was a unique story. But the more I talked to learning and development folks, the more common this story is. You start in academia, then you transfer into learning and development, and from there, you gather a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge, a lot of right certifications, and with time, you start to learn how to apply them and to synthesize them and to use them all in a larger scale as opposed to just individually when you first learn those skills. And so, once I got there, I started to recognize that a lot of the leaders that I was working with. Has some things in common. And I found that I was actually pretty good at getting them to recognize some of the things that they could be doing differently. And that's how I ended up leaving corporate and going into just coaching. And I've been doing this about 2 years and I'm really enjoying it.
Good. No, that's great. And I ask everybody this about their journey and their career when it comes to advice you've received and something that might have been, some of the biggest, you know, in your situation, your biggest advice you've received, what was that and where was that in your career?
It was early. It was in at the university when I was working at the university, and my mentor told me that if I was ever the smartest person in the room, I needed to find another room because there was no room for growth in that room.
Okay. I like that. I like that. I definitely believe in that, and I always am curious when I ask people that question, what comes out and what they have had from
Yeah, sure.
different advice, tools and things that they've had along the way. So, um, well, great. So we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. Speakeasy HR is part of the Work Defined podcast community. Also, recently joined the brand new HR channel on Roku and Amazon Fire TV, so you can watch and catch up on all things HR with the HR channel. Brand new blogs out there. I've had many recent blog posts from previous guests on Speakeasy HR. So check those out. Voices outside of mine on the blog have been great to hear from previous guests coming on and talking on their topic, but then also keeping in touch and bringing that to the website. So speakeasyhr.com to check that out. So all right, so we're going to play the envelope icebreaker game, Willie. So as we transition, all you got to do is think of a number 1 through 15, and then we'll see what's in there. So hold on 1 second. All right, what you got? 1 through 15.
Cinco. 5.
5. All right. Cinco de Mayo was just last week. All right. What song instantly puts you in a good mood no matter what?
Don't worry, be happy.
Ooh. I remember that song when I was like young, and I was like every day I'd go to school. I think I was like in kindergarten or first grade. I would cry, I would bawl going to school, and then my dad would like play that song, or it was, on TV, or so I remember that song way back.
Way back when, yes. And I was on the other side of that scenario where I was the parent telling my children, don't worry, be happy.
Right. Oh, that's great. Well, good. Well, we have more rapid fire questions. These are from your topic. I try to bring in some quick response questions as we kind of start going into this topic with you. So rapid fire: alignment or speed, which gets sacrificed too often?
Alignment.
Reacting as a habit or a choice?
Reacting as a habit or a choice. I would say that it is a choice.
Okay.
It's a habit, but then it becomes a choice because once you know what the habit is, that makes sense.
Yep.
Did you connect all those dots?
I did.
Okay.
One word that defines an aligned leader.
Intentional.
Okay. More dangerous, overthinking or overreacting?
Overreacting. Overthinking slows things down, but overreacting can totally derail the whole system.
Okay. Finish this. Great leaders pause before they
act.
All right. Got to give you the mini air horn for those. Those are this is a limited edition 1 of 1 SpeakEasy HR mini air horn. So thanks for playing rapid fire and the envelope icebreaker. So just a few messages from our sponsor payroll partners, and then we're going to dive into your topic about vertical leadership. So hold on 1 minute.
Finding a new employee takes time and money. For one position on a single job board, you could easily spend a minimum of $5 to $10 a day advertising a job post. It's worth noting that the average time it takes to hire a new employee is 36 days. However, it can take longer than that. You could find yourself paying hundreds of dollars a month for a single job board. And if you're using multiple job boards for multiple positions, this could add up to thousands of dollars a month. There is a much simpler and more affordable way of finding the right candidate. At Payroll Partners, we offer an applicant tracking system to help manage your hiring process. Our ATS is customizable, allowing you to decide which days you want to run the job and when to close it so you don't break the bank. And this feature lets you e-blast your network, posting jobs on multiple boards at once, all managed in one location. Payroll Partners, elevating your payroll and HR experience.
So if you are in a position within an organization and you're using payroll HR technology and it's just not fitting for your business, look me up on LinkedIn, connect with me. Would love to hear about your situation and see if we can help you design, customize, build, support a platform that will work better. So payrollpartners.net, or look me up on LinkedIn and be happy to connect. So Willie, we started talking about your topic and what you were bringing to SpeakEasy HR, and we came up with this vertical leadership, leading with alignment, not reaction. And so we've kind of gone through a couple of rapid fire questions about this topic, and I'm really excited to kind of hear your viewpoints and your reaction to some of these questions, and just sharing some of your experience with everybody. So let's start simple. What does vertical leadership actually mean in practice?
I thought you said simple. Actually, the simplest way to, I think, give you an idea of exactly vertical leadership is it's a metaphor that everybody uses when they talk about this, and it's the smartphone. And so horizontal leadership is kind of like when you are adding apps, right? You're adding skills. You're now able to do different things, right? Because of those apps. And vertical leadership, on the other hand, is completely updating the whole operating system, right? How you see things, how you view things, and the way you make decisions based on that.
Okay. So see, that wasn't a very
Yes.
hard question. Okay, so how can leaders tell when they're operating from alignment versus reacting in the moment?
Emotion. I
Okay.
think that's really the key. Alignment, it gives you that opportunity to take a step back, look at the bigger picture. It's the whole idea of vertical leadership is based on systems theory, right? On a systemic thought process, which is great because I'm a systems theorist, family systems. That's where my background is. Spent
Yep.
a lot of time with good old Yuri Bronfenbrenner and his concentric little rings, and how people develop and expand their knowledge and their awareness. And it's a lifetime process. It's not something that you can develop immediately because you have to have those skills. And usually people do have those skills, become experts, then they start moving into leadership. But a lot of leaders get stuck in that expert area and don't move past it.
Yeah. Okay. So what typically triggers reactive leadership in high performing environments?
There's really, it's interesting because there's this goes along with the Myers-Briggs, which I'm a Myers-Briggs practitioner, and so there's great triggers when you look at specific personalities, right? And so there's the trigger of whether or not you are challenging my authority or my sense of expertise. And that usually, obviously, you get that feeling like all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, right? And then it blocks everything else and you're just going to react to that. Others are triggered by relationships or feeling like you are questioning whether or not they care about you, whether or not you trust them, whether, those things. And then there's those that fall into the values and belief system, and whether or not you are challenging them from that perspective. And so each of those reacts differently, and the goal is to understand, first of all, what your trigger is, how you can recognize that feeling that's right about to take over, and how do you look at that and go, okay, wait a minute, what reaction is actually going to be best in this situation? Well, I don't want to react. I want to respond. So in order to respond, now I need to look at this from my own worldview. Ideally, a vertical leader is going to be looking at their principles, their value system, and their moral compass in making decisions. And interestingly enough, it's the same whether you're leading a family or leading a team, an organization. The process is still the same. And people tend to react differently, and they look for closure in different ways.
Yeah.
And that's the key, understanding yourself. What do I need from my team, from my CEO, from whoever it is you're interacting with? What is it that I need to feel closure in this, so it doesn't create resentment and I don't carry it on into other interactions that we'll have?
Yeah, organizations need solid leaders. They need to develop solid leaders.
Absolutely.
And it really is what will develop a team, the culture, and why people decide to stay at a company, why they decide to leave a company. So when it comes to that, what are the consequences on teams and culture when leaders consistently operate in reaction mode?
Actually, I took a little liberty of adding a couple of notes here because this is really important, and I knew it would come up. But the consequences it's really the culture, like you just said, right? You're developing a culture, and like to call it whiplash, right? That emotional whiplash, and it's the instability that you don't know which CEO is going to walk in that door today, right?
Yeah.
And so you're bracing for whatever's going to happen, and whoever this person is that walks in, and then you can never predict that. And so those inconsistent expectations rattle you, and it makes it really difficult to work in that type of environment for teams. And unfortunately, what tends to happen is that it ends up creating a fear-based work environment.
Yeah.
And what happens when people are afraid? They're less likely to be honest. They're less likely to take risks because failure is not an option. And it stifles growth, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. And I think everybody's probably had an experience in working in a team that didn't function all that healthily.
Yeah.
And it always goes back to the leader.
Yep. Yeah. And you can read all the books you can, and you're still going to have to really learn how you're going to be a leader in the environment you're in, because you can be a leader in one organization, then go to the next organization, and you're going to have to be a different kind of leader potentially. And
yeah, you have
lead,
to learn to lead the people that have been entrusted to you, and they're all going to be different, just like your kids. They're all going to be different.
Yep.
Right. There's not one formula to work with them. One thing that I have noticed is that one thing that the leaders that struggle, like, honestly, I've never met a leader that's not intelligent, right? It's not a lack of intelligence. It's more a lack of self-awareness and around, I guess, the triggers, but there's other things too. It's, what is it that I truly believe? I always start with new clients. I'll say, what is your leadership philosophy? And I usually will get a blank stare. And so then I'll say, well, personally for me, when I was in learning and development, right, in a corporate setting, my leadership philosophy was all about development. And so when somebody failed, when somebody screwed up, whatever you want to call it, right, it would be betraying my philosophy if I didn't look at that as a teachable moment, right? And so then that has to affect how I'm going to react and the environment that I'm going to create. And once you come up with that, then the next question is, so is that really how your team runs?
Yeah. I love that. And it's something that I always am curious. Most people don't ask it in interviews about leadership or about the manager styles. And I generally tell people when I'm talking to people personally about finding jobs, or when I go to, job search focus groups we have in our community,
Sure.
I'm like, if you are trying to find the right fit, within an organization, you have this opportunity to go into a new position with a new company, you're trying to interview them as much as they're interviewing you. And
Right.
you can maybe meet the manager in the interview, but are you going to know like how that manager actually leads and manages? Probably not. So you're gonna have to ask, right? You're gonna have to ask. And if you can align your questions in the interview correctly, and take that opportunity and that time with that person or several, it's going to help you learn more about the culture, the environment, right? Like really see if it's going to be a company you want to work for. So
Absolutely. And just how let's ask behavioral questions when we interview. Well, I think that as a potential new employee, I think a behavioral question is a really good one. What is the manager's reaction when X, Y, and Z happens, right? And that'll be really telling.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard people leave jobs because of the managers, and it's one reason why they leave.
Absolutely.
So we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. If you are watching and have a question for Willie, just chime in to the chat. Would love to hear from you if you have a question. Others might be thinking the same one. So don't hesitate to throw those out if you are a leader, or if you're trying to be a leader, this is an opportunity to talk to a leadership coach and get some insights from Willie. So so next question, Willie. So how does a leader define their alignments? What are they aligning to?
They're principles, right? First, you have to know what they are. I mean, you have to. What are my? Do I have principles? So that's really important. Understanding, again, self-awareness always goes back to self-awareness, and your values, your moral compass. This is so my coaching practice is rooted in Christian beliefs and principles and biblical principles, and so it's always the easiest way to say, well, what's your moral compass? Well, ideally, right, where it comes, it's vertical. It's a really easy way to say, right? Vertical, because it comes from above you. Well, even if you're not looking at it from a Christian perspective, it's still coming from above you. It's bigger than you. It's your principles. It's your honor. And again, vertical is going to be more reacting to the situation. It's going to be more about the chaos, right? The noise. And it's really difficult to function in that setting and do it well.
Yeah. So what's one practical way that a leader can pause and reset before reacting?
Pause. Pause, right? So when you look at vertical leadership, they say like 80 to 85% of leaders are in the stages between it's expert and achiever. And that's like the first and second of those stages that you want to get through. And you get stuck in that achiever mode. And part of that is reaction. I'm reacting to what's happening, right? And I want to be admired for the things that I'm doing. I've learned to kind of use my team to make those things happen. But I'm still not at that level where I can look at the entire system.
Hey, I'm Katie Van Horn.
And I'm Jackie Clayton.
We're your hosts of the Inclusive AF podcast, where we take on DEI, leadership, and HR without all the corporate fluff.
That's right. We've got decades of experience, a lot of opinions, and zero tolerance for performative anything.
Every week, we dig into what it really takes to build inclusive workplaces with honesty, strategy, and a few side eyes.
We'll talk about the tough stuff, power dynamics, privilege, what's broken in the system, and how we can all do better.
And don't worry, it's not all heavy. We bring receipts, laughs, and real talk from people actually doing the work.
Think of it as your weekly dose of truth, tips, and a little tea to help you lead with intention and show up for your people.
So if you're ready to push past the buzzwords and get into the actual work of inclusion,
you're in the right place. So subscribe to the Inclusive AF podcast.
New episodes drop every week.
Catch us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll be here breaking it down one inclusive convo at a time.
And then use, right, my above, whatever you want to call that, right, skills and abilities, or probably shouldn't use the word skills, but more of your moral compass, I like that best, to make those decisions, and not in that reaction, mode.
Yeah. So going back, this is episode 25. I had a friend of mine who, it's all about breathing. And it's all about breathing better before the stress comes and before the situations of having to make decisions. So if you haven't listened, go back to episode 25 with Andy Matthews, and it's all about breathing better. It's very fascinating. He's coaching me right now. I'm playing in my first golf tournament since college. I played competitive in college, and I haven't played since,
Really?
more on a competitive level.
Competitively.
So I'm playing in an event later this month, and he's been doing this. He does it with PGA professionals. He does it with professional athletes. He does it with, amateurs, teenagers. Like, it's all about breathing better. And it's something that I never really fully understood until I started talking to him about it. So anyway, in those reaction moments when you're trying to lead a team under pressure. Pause, breathe, you know.
Pause, breathe, right? If you're usually your body will react, right? And so you'll tense. And so you know that, okay, wait a minute. I've been triggered by something.
Yep.
Right? So I need to take a step back. I need to take a breath, and I need to name that. What is that? What is happening right now?
Yep.
And what's the situation? Take a step back again, and then assess what's necessary right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I think, again, even as parents, you don't have to give an answer right this minute.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Right.
Yep.
Somebody stops you in the hallway and asks you a question, and you feel like you have to answer right then in that moment, and you get that sense of urgency and you react.
Yeah.
If you just take a step back and you haven't actually processed whatever it is that they're asking of you, then you want to respond in a way that is not just knowledgeable in the whole situation, but you want to know, how does this affect the entire system? Right? Not just my team, not just my department, not just my organization.
Yeah.
Right? How is this going to have an impact on the entire system that it touches?
Yep. Yeah. And if anybody's listening to this, thinking about their situation right now, and really what level of trust and respect you have for your manager and your leaders in the organization, a lot of this stuff will either improve that and strengthen that trust and respect, or it might break it. And how they're reacting to situations that you truly don't feel like they are making the right decisions. And it's just, you get that feeling of like, I don't trust them anymore, or I don't trust them. They've lost my trust. So a lot of this falls into that category of having that right leadership alignment, and really how you're handling the situations to gain and improve that trust for your team. Because I've looked at my career and the people I've worked with and have been managed by, and majority of the time it was someone that I trusted. I felt like they were helping me develop and our team develop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But not everybody's cut out to be a leader. They might want to be a leader.
That's the truth.
They want to get paid like the leader.
Oh, absolutely.
But they don't want to make those difficult decisions and have to have those difficult conversations with a team.
That's huge. Yeah, difficult conversations are difficult for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And now I think just people coming into the workforce, let's say they're just graduating, getting out into the workforce, and what they're getting prepared to be in for, whether it's a lot of companies are still remote. A lot of companies are reevaluating their work environment, and how their schedule of work is going to benefit them moving forward. And so it's kind of like, what are these young professionals coming into the workforce?
And let's throw in AI.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So when you're thinking about leadership, especially vertical leadership, where you're supposed to be coming from, right, this really evolved space and maturity, and then all of a sudden you get something like AI thrown at you, it will throw you for a loop, right?
Oh, yeah.
How does this fit in? How do I have a difficult conversation with AI? How does AI going to fit into my team? What is the appropriate way? What's the safest? There's so many things to consider. And again, like you said, breathe, take that pause, take that pause.
Yep. So how do you lead with alignment when the business is, when the business environment is chaotic and constantly changing right now?
Yeah. I think that the best, I always go back, right? You have to know your triggers. You have to know, right, what it is that's going to set you off and set you into that reactive mode so that you can stay aligned. And I like the breathing one. I'm going to use that. I'm stealing that. Right? You take that solid, deep breath, and you decide, I am not going to participate in this chaos. Right? I'm here to create peace. And I'm not looking at it like, how am I going to fix these people? I'm looking at it as, all right, if I'm the leader, how am I into this chaos? What am I doing? Right? That's not peace. That's not bringing trust. It's not allowing my people to feel that they are in an environment where they're going to get what they need to do their job, right? Whether it's competency, skills assessment, whatever that might be. Am I really aware of what they need and their growth? Actually, not just what they need in terms of growth, but what are some growth opportunities? And I think the clearest indication, if you're wondering if you're a good leader or not, if you're a good vertical leader, look at your team. Are they growing? Are they flourishing? Is the environment one where someone makes the mistake and they can come and say, mi culpa, and here's what happened. Here's where we're at. Let's brainstorm how we move forward from here, and use that as an opportunity. Hey, you're going to make mistakes, but ideally you won't make the same one I just made. Right. And now because I have shared that with you. And I've never had a leader myself that says, here's how I screwed up one time and it was a major screw up, but here's what I learned. And you know what? I survived and my career survived and I was able to move forward. Have you?
Exactly. Yeah.
I've never had a leader that had that conversation with me. And if you're not willing to have that conversation, again, you're leading the conversation. Your people aren't going to be able to have those conversations either, because everybody thinks that they have to produce. It's about producing. Everything has to happen quickly, and I'm not allowed that breathing room either. I need to make sure that I'm reacting and that every time the boss says something, I'm jumping right on it. Well, again, you don't have time to look at the system. You don't have time to look at the big picture. You don't have time to decide what's happening and then checking yourself and saying, all right, let me evaluate this based on what I truly believe and what I stand for.
Yep.
Now, what's my response going to be? You can do it in 10 seconds. I'm just saying.
Yes, you can.
Definitely.
I am with Willie Wibert, leadership coach, live on LinkedIn and YouTube. If you have a question, throw it in the chat about leadership. If you are not a leader, or if you are, would love to hear from you or connect with, obviously, Willie on LinkedIn. Great follow and great resource for you. So a couple more questions while we have you. So what role does emotional intelligence play in vertical leadership, and where do leaders get it wrong?
I think it plays a huge role, because that's part of self-awareness, right? Self-awareness, self-regulating, being able to do all these advanced level thinking things. But I think that a lot of times leaders get it wrong because they equate emotional intelligence with being nice. I'm supposed to be nice. Yeah. Right? I can't have conflict. I can't have a difficult conversation, clearly, if right. As opposed to thinking, all right, how is this going to affect the bigger picture, right? Going through that process of elimination and being able to self-regulate your emotions, to be able to respond and not react. And again, to respond aligned to your principles, your values, your moral compass, all of those vertical things that, right, we all aspire to get to that place where we can actually make an impact on the world in a purposeful way, and be able to say, oh, I didn't just accidentally, change the world in a good way, which is fine. I'll take that too, but let's be purposeful. Let's right.
Absolutely.
Prepare for it.
Yeah. We have a question, Shelley. Great question here. So in your profession, Willie, you said self-awareness is the biggest area leaders struggle with. How do you support leaders to see this, even if they know it, but get stuck and just can't move forward? Example, they use the pause method instead of using its, let's see, it got
cut.
instead of using their voice in a meeting?
Well, there's a bunch of different assessments, right? And there's good, there's bad, there's criticism of everything. But I have been using Myers-Briggs for almost 10 years, and it suits my needs. And I've also certified by Gallup as a strengths coach. And so I look at so I have my clients do those assessments, right? And then I look at, what are your conflict triggers? Where are you essentially, right? And I can kind of gauge where you're at after conversations. And I'm not a mind reader. I am good at reading people. I'll put it that way. Anyway, self-awareness, like most people don't know what their triggers are. They don't know that, why they react. And then when you walk through that and you have those conversations, and then they recognize the common denominator, that makes a difference, right? Because now I know, okay, wait, he just triggered me. What did he say? Oh, wait, he challenged my expertise, right? David's telling me how to raise children, for God's sakes. And so, wait a minute, right? And so now I know I was triggered. And now I can take a step back and go, okay, wait a minute. What did he really mean? Where was this conversation coming from? And you know what? If I can't figure it out, let me ask you. Okay, wait a minute. So I'm just wondering where that is coming from, and what your thought process is on that, and having that conversation, and not being afraid that it's going to turn into a difficult conversation, because you know what? That's 80% in your head, right? And just being upfront and having that conversation. But I do have one or two that have had a difficult time with accepting where they're at in their vertical leadership journey, we'll say, and thinking that they are at a more expanded level than they actually are. And that makes it a little more difficult, but you can go through scenarios and you can have those conversations. But again, how are the people around you doing? What are the people around you? When you walk into a room, what happens? That's a huge, right? And so self-awareness, being aware, and that's the first step, right? That's like level one, bottom, self-awareness. Okay. There's a lot of other things that need to happen as well in order for you to elevate into a full-fledged, we'll say, but never ends though, becoming the best version of yourself as a leader. Yeah. But start there and have those conversations, and people will struggle with it, but they got to learn how to regulate. It's part of emotional intelligence, right? And how to slow things down. Yeah. I hope that answered it.
Yeah. No, I think that was great. Thanks, Shelley, for the question.
Yeah, thank you.
If anybody else has any questions, chime in. Would love to hear from you if you have anything on your mind while we are live. So couple more questions I have for you, Willie. Okay. So how can organizations develop leaders to think vertically, not just execute horizontally?
Everybody's always looking for that quick fix, right? Can I just go to a certification training? Can I go, spend a week at a camp and learn everything I need to know and then come back? And it doesn't really work that way, right? You need to have some stretch responsibility, right? Some opportunities to screw up, to have to go to somebody else and ask, right? Ask those questions and have those conversations. And having a mentor, having someone who is at the higher level that you're hoping to get to, not the three layers above you, right? But what's that next level, and how can I get there? And how did they get there? And be willing to ask those questions. I think it's interesting because anytime, and it's very rarely, people will come up, and say, hey, I'm looking for a mentor, and I'm like, me? You want me? Really? Are you sure? right? All that self-doubt comes like, oh, what am I going to do? What do you want from me? But being able to just have that conversation and say, you know what, here's what I see in you, and I want to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Or I looked at your resume and I like the path of your, career that you've taken. Can you talk to me about that? Can you help me? Here's where I'm at. How would you recommend, what's the next step? Where should I be looking? What should I be doing? But being able to have those conversations with folks where that have already arrived at the place where you're hoping to get, and not acting like you already know everything and you're ready to be there, because then you think you're the smartest person in the room. And you know what I think about that.
If you do not have a mentor, I would strongly suggest going back to episode 50 of Speakeasy HR. I had Pete Schramm.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Schramm with Pathfinders. He talks about having your personal board of advisors, and it's such
Love
a
it.
fascinating take. So again, episode 50, definitely go back and check out. Definitely worth listening to it and checking out his book, Pathfinders. He was just in town for an all-day HR conference, and I had him on. I was live at the event doing HR. It was called HR Collaborative. We had 11 speakers. I interviewed each of them for about 15 minutes on here. We had a live two episodes of Speakeasy HR at the event. So again, mentorship is so important, and I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't know if it was going to get brought up, but you definitely did, and it's such an important piece. You can learn a lot in inside the walls of your organization. Go out to events and meet people in the community that might be good resources, connections.
Yeah.
Mentorship is huge. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
flattering that you probably got asked to be a mentor, right?
Yeah, but I will say, if you're going to, ask for a mentor, have something specific in mind.
Yes, exactly.
So at least you can set those parameters and say, okay, well, here's what I have to offer.
Yep,
And
exactly.
be realistic about your limitations as well.
Yep.
Flattered, but
Flattered. So I'll leave you with this question, Willie. So if a leader realizes they've been leading reactively, what's the first step to shift forward with alignments?
self-awareness. But how do you get that, right? Well, it's a good time to look for growth opportunities within your own organization, to look for mentorship, to look for opportunities. I think you start with your skill set, right? We had to start somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I started with even with my Myers-Briggs or Clifton Strengths is probably easier. I learned 34 strengths. I had to learn each of them. What do they mean? Now I have to kind of figure out, well, what does that look like when somebody's talking? How do I hear their strengths? How do I, right? All of these things. And that took years.
Yeah.
Right. And so that growth, where I could finally get to the point where I'm having a conversation and I'm thinking, oh, I just heard his futuristic come out. I just heard, right? That's the application part. That's the ability to then synthesize, to use everything that you have, bring it all together and get to that next level. Am I at the, alchemist level? Am I the magician? Am I at the, no, right? But I'm always, looking to expand my knowledge and to surround myself with people that know more than me and that can help me grow. And I think that's the key, is you can't silo yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. No, this has been great. I've learned so much. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it again so that I can digest everything that you went through. But hopefully everybody that has listened to this episode has picked up something or several things to focus on in their role, if they're a leader or if they want to be and they currently aren't a leader and want to focus on that moving forward in their career. So anything else that you want to share, or anything else that we didn't cover that you want to bring up?
Just pointing out that we barely touched the surface. We're still at that whole level one. We're with self-awareness. There's a whole lot more that goes into vertical leadership, but I promise you, if you have no self-awareness, you aren't going to get to those next levels either.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
start there.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was such a great episode, and really enjoyed connecting with you again. So we'll certainly keep in touch. If there's ever something that you want to add to the blog, definitely do that. I would greatly appreciate that. And thanks, Shelley, for chiming in and tuning in, and hopefully you learned a little bit from the episode. So I wish you all the best, Willie. Let's keep in touch. I know you're working on some things that we'll probably connect on in the future and be able to talk more about. So appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate the invite, and I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah.
It wasn't as scary as I thought it would be.
See, it's an authentic, unfiltered, uncut conversation, and that's what it's all about. So well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Next Monday, brand new episode, brand new guest. So check it out. Go to LinkedIn, find me or SpeakEasy HR, and learn more. And we'll see everybody on next Monday. Take care, everybody.